today, we're taking a concept that is, I think, simultaneously incredibly popular and just, deeply misunderstood: the power of positive thinking. Our mission today is to really look past the motivational posters, to get past the surface level stuff and understand the fundamental mechanism. How does your internal mindset actually shape the trajectory of your life?
And that is such a critical distinction to make right up front, because I know what a lot of you are probably thinking.
Yeah.
You hear positive thinking and you just instantly think toxic positivity.
Right. Just slap a smile on it.
Exactly. Pretend your problems don't exist. But are looking at positive thinking not as like a blind ideology, but as a deliberate, powerful tool, a tool for navigating your internal world, especially when the external world is just chaotic.
Okay, so let's unpack that central mechanism. Because the core insight, the thing that anchored all the research we looked at, was this foundational loop.
Right.
It's this idea that your thoughts are quietly, constantly shaping your actions. And those actions, through repetition, they become your habits.
And the habits become your life.
And the habits become your life. It's this silent engine that starts working long before you even realize what direction you're headed in.
It's the groundwork. We always focus on changing the external stuff, the job, the city. But the sources stressed again and again that if that internal framework is flawed, the external changes just won't stick.
It's that classic metaphor, right? If the mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds.
Exactly. And I think what's so fascinating is how the sources connected that metaphor to the actual work required.
It's not just about planting good seeds.
No, it's about actively weeding the garden, which is, basically what psychologists call cognitive restructuring.
Right. And that's why we have to be so clear about what positive thinking is not.
Okay, yeah, let's start there.
It does not mean you never feel frustration or sadness or anxiety. I mean, those are real, valid emotions.
Suppressing that stuff, denying real pain, that just leads to internal decay. That's not success, that's just denial.
So if it isn't about denying the bad stuff, what is it? I mean, how do we actually use it as a tool when we're genuinely struggling?
The sources define it as choosing your response. It's not letting your negative emotions control your future behavior. You acknowledge the reality, the job loss happened, the opportunity was missed, but you choose the next thought.
You choose the thought that informs the next action.
You get to decide. It's about emotional flexibility, really. It's what gives you your agency back. You separate the event from your reaction to the event.
And what's so fascinating there is the mechanism of how these thoughts, how they become permanent.
How they get solidified.
Yeah. I mean, thoughts are so transient, right? They just pop up. They're like notifications in your mind.
But the ones you hold on to, the ones you repeat, those are the ones that start carving out pathways in your brain. This is where it becomes a neural reality.
So we're talking about real physical changes in the brain, that whole what fires together, wires together idea.
Exactly. If you constantly repeat, I am not equipped for this, you're not just having a bad day. You're literally strengthening the neural network that affirms that you're inadequate.
And that belief, it leads directly to behavior.
Right. If you believe you're incapable, your subconscious will actually look for evidence to prove you right. It's confirmation bias in action.
Which, unfortunately, brings us to the inner saboteur, the dark side of this loop.
Yeah, the sources had such a visceral way of describing it. They called it the thing that whispers lies that sound like truth.
And they're so devastating because they're so personal.
They hit you right where it hurts. The content of those lies is, well, it's universal, isn't it? You're not good enough. You're too late. You're not ready.
Or the big one, you're not capable of handling this. And they always arrive sounding like these definitive judgments from some high court judge.
And it's so easy to just accept them as fact, especially when you're under pressure. That first feeling of fear just instantly becomes, this is a fact about who I am.
So how do we break that? How do we disrupt that loop when the emotion is so immediate?
Well, that's the critical juncture.
Yeah, wow.
And the sources gave us a really powerful foundational concept here. It's this: thoughts are not facts.
Say that again. That's so important.
Thoughts are not facts. That separation is everything. Just because a little electrical signal pops into your head saying you're going to fail doesn't mean it reflects objective reality. It's just a thought, a transient signal.
And that little space, that gap between the thought and your reaction, that's where the power is.
That's where the shift happens. The sources suggest that real positive thinking isn't about forcing optimism. It's more about choosing better questions to challenge that initial negative thought.
So instead of just accepting I'm not good enough,
you question it. You shift the inquiry. You ask, okay, what is one small, imperfect step I can take right now to move forward? It reframes everything from identity to action.
Now, to bring this out of the abstract, the sources shared a couple of really powerful stories. The first one was about missing a life-changing interview.
Oh, this one was. It was the perfect storm of external catastrophe.
Yeah, totally. They'd prepared for months, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and then the bus breaks down.
Miles away. And to make it worse, their phone dies, so they're completely cut off from the company that's waiting for them.
That moment right there is the ultimate trigger for every negative belief you have about yourself.
Right. I'm unlucky. The universe is against me. I knew I shouldn't have tried. The immediate natural response is just to give up, to sink into it.
But the turning point in the story, it wasn't some external luck. It was a conscious choice, a decision to adopt one single different thought.
And that thought was so simple. It was just, maybe this is not the end.
Just that. Maybe. And that one thought completely changed their next action. Instead of going home defeated, they walked to a coffee shop, charged their phone,
And wrote this incredibly honest, apologetic, but persistent follow-up email.
which led to the interviewer being so impressed by their perseverance that they rescheduled. The external reality didn't change. They still missed the interview. But the internal response changed the entire outcome.
They went from a fixed mindset, I failed, to a growth mindset, I can adapt.
The second story was just as powerful, but it was all about inner dialogue.
This was the person who was, highly successful on the outside, but realized they were speaking to themselves with this unbelievable cruelty.
A level of judgment they would never, ever use on their best friend.
Never. That contrast is so startling when you see it. We tolerate this inner criticism, the you idiot, the why did you even try, that we would immediately shut down if anyone else said it to us.
I think we all recognize that. We're always so much harder on ourselves.
Absolutely. And the sources show that just becoming aware of that double standard, that was the breakthrough, the realization that you've become your own worst bully.
And that awareness, it really changed everything. Because once that belief shifted from I am flawed to I am learning, the outer life started to follow.
The behavior aligned itself with self-support instead of self-sabotage, less fear of failure, more willingness to take risks. It all starts with that awareness.
Okay, so that awareness shows us the problem. But how do we move from just, a moment of realization to building a real lasting solution?
And that's where the sources really deliver. They give you, the listener, a systematic 4-step toolkit for this.
This is the practical application. These aren't just fluffy ideas. These are active mental exercise.
Exactly. And the first tool, and this connects right back to awareness, is to name the thought.
Explain that. Why is just naming it so important?
Because you can't change what you can't identify. When a negative thought rushes in, it just overwhelms your rational brain. But by consciously pausing and labeling it, that is anxiety, or that is the scarcity thought, you immediately engage the rational part of your brain.
You create some distance.
Yes. You're separating the observer from the feeling. You're saying, I have this feeling, but I am not this feeling. It just reduces its immediate power over you.
That's powerful. It interrupts that automatic spiral.
Hmm.
Okay, so the second tool the sources give us is reframe the thought.
This is that active choice we talked about. After you name the anxiety, you actively choose a better question. So if you miss a deadline, the immediate thought is, I'm so disorganized.
Which is an identity statement.
Exactly. Reframing changes it to, what part of my system failed, and what's one small thing I can do to prevent this next time? You move from a character flaw to a process problem.
I like that. The third tool is all about environmental control. Feed your mind positive input.
In the age of constant scrolling and the 24-hour bad news cycle it's just crucial. It's a gatekeeping function.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Literally. Your brain is a supercomputer. If you are constantly feeding it negativity, cynicism, tragedy, your brain will naturally produce negative outputs, even when your own life is fine.
So this is about being aggressive, really, about protecting your mental landscape.
Yeah.
Consciously choosing what books, what podcasts, what company you
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us to the final tool, which is so powerful when you're really in the thick of it. Practice gratitude even during chaos.
Now, this is the one people often mistake for that toxic positivity. How do the sources distinguish it?
It's not about being grateful for the chaos. It's about maintaining perspective despite the chaos. It's an anchoring exercise. You acknowledge the storm, but you choose to focus on the parts of the ship that are still holding together.
It stops the bad moment from becoming a belief that your whole life is bad.
Exactly. It maintains that emotional equilibrium.
So if we pull all of this together, The central theme is just. It's perfectly clear. Positive thinking is not about ignoring reality.
Not at all.
It is a systematic, conscious, continuous act of choosing your response to reality. It's about proactive control over your internal state.
So if you're struggling right now, if you feel like those negative whispers are getting louder, please remember this one takeaway. Your mindset matters. It is the most powerful resource you have.
And as we heard in those stories,
Yeah.
this is not the end of your story. The only thing that really determines the outcome is the thought you choose next.
And finally, let's build on that core idea. Thoughts are not facts, but repeated thoughts absolutely become the foundational beliefs that guide your life. So if every thought you repeat is hardwiring your future, what one negative, self-limiting thought are you currently repeating, maybe without even realizing it, that you need to consciously unbelieve starting today? Go find that lie, name it, and question if it's really true. That's where